You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. It's Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. We're glad to have you with us. My name is Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth.
I feel like
Hello.
I shouted that.
Yeah.
How are you? What
How
did you
are
do
you?
at the end of the last
I'm
episode?
curious. I
How
want
are
to
you?
know.
Welcome to our show.
Guys, that's just day one of 17 days off.
Nice. I like it.
2 weeks from now, when we meet again,
You'll have
I'll
seen
still have 3 days
17 movies. 17 movies in 17 days.
I won't have time for that, but I'll have seen a couple. I'm going to Gen Con next weekend, or Wednesday we're going to be there. Nick's already making reservations for one of them, whatever. It's like a Brazilian steakhouse or something where they come around and just cut meat on your plate and stuff. It's like, okay. He's like, I'm buying. I was like, well, you are not going to get your money's worth out of me, but I will eat some meat. I'll do my best. But looking forward to that. And then we're here in a minute. I want to hear about the trips you guys just took. But Cliff mentioned we could do a review of the Acolyte, so of the end of the Acolyte. So I'm going to do it right now. And an amazing twist in the second half of the Acolyte, you find out that it sucks.
So, yeah, when we last spoke of the Acolyte on Disney Plus, I think episode 5 had just dropped, and you were telling everyone you knew, watch episode 5. You'll love this show. It's amazing.
Was it 5 or 4?
I think it was
Maybe
5.
Yeah, it was 5.
Five
It was
was
5.
big.
It was 5.
Like,
Hey, if they would have,
Yeah.
if they just watched that episode,
yeah.
cool.
That's still to this day will say that. Anyone that's a Star Wars fan needs to watch episode 5. You don't need to watch anything else.
Yeah.
And then they spent one of the episodes after that rerunning the worst episode. It was like episode 3 or whatever about, the origin of all the kids and the witches and stuff. But like, hey, let's watch that again, but from a different perspective. It's like, oh, that was your.
It wasn't
slowest
even.
worst
I wasn't even what they set up. That's why I'm mad about it. Is because the whole thing. Oh, we're gonna find out what terrible thing happened. Yada yada yada. What's gonna happen? And then at the end of the one episode, he's like, "I gotta tell you," or whatever, and which sets up that the next episode is going to be from his perspective. And it's entirely not. It's like there's plenty of scenes without him, and it's just like it's not what you set up. That's not how you do this. And then when you show what happens, it's stupid. It was just.
It was stupid.
I'm just like this. I was like, what an amazing twist! This show freaking sucks all of a sudden. And I'm like, whatever. Episode 5. Just watch episode 5, and I'm glad I watched the show because I got to watch that episode.
I still think that villain was great. I still
He
think
was.
he's
That's what I mean. He's one of the best ever.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, they've
Yeah,
already
I
got those
didn't-
helmets hitting shelves now.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Star Wars is all about the twins and destiny and all that stuff, but we're two
The dyads and
aspects
triads
of one.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I didn't follow it, and I didn't like it.
Yeah. I didn't like.
But again, that's one of those
Yeah.
shows like, oh, I could read about this and learn what I'm not getting. It's like, it's not good enough to, it's not worth the effort. Like, there were still really good scenes, and there were good characters that I liked that I hope they bring back in some form or another.
That's what pissed me off is because all the characters I liked all died or got killed, and then I'm left with like these 2 shitty girls and that I don't care about and
that are supposed to be like whatever. There's supposed to be this twist to how they are, but they're not even identical twins. Like, I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't even know. Anyway, move on. That was it. That's all I'm not talking about that. But we got resolution. We have closure on the Acolyte. Big Brother's back. big BB 26, and these guys don't care. But I'm just letting you know what's happening. If you, if you had any,
I just got back to the reality quarter.
Yeah, exactly. I'm back to you guys in the
warning.
Corner.
We just got reality corner. Nope. Landed on us. We didn't land on reality corner. Reality corner landed on us.
That's right. It happened to you. Let it wash over you.
These kids are robots. Jim, Tanny, Laundry.
True story.
Good luck. And don't it up.
Where's Kim?
Kim is always late.
This simple country kind of life.
Where the hell are we?
Yeah, it's back. It's different. I mean, it's all new people, and I was kind of waiting to see what was going to be, and there's some positives. So I'm enjoying it so far. The cast is fine. I'm really happy that the annoying guy of the first week is gone. I sometimes I like the idea of keeping him for the chaos, but when I watched the episode the other night and the edit was completely not what was happening in the house. They tried to make it look like everybody was going to work with him or whatever. And no, everybody was planning to vote him out if they had a chance at all. And it was just, I was like, this, if he stays in the house, they're going to edit it to make him look great. And I cannot watch that. I'm like, it was starting to make me sick already. And then when they got the chance to vote him out, I knew they would. And that Joseph went in the diary room to vote, and he was like, we're not doing this. We're not doing what every other season is. I'm voting for this guy. I was like, yes, that's it. Say it like that, because this guy sucks. Actually, he's a perfectly nice guy. He's just freaking annoying. But the main thing I'm excited about is the competitions are different. I don't know if it will sustain, but so far we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 competitions, and they've all been equitable, not very, only minor bits of athleticism. I think maybe one comp was won by a guy. It's all been women so far. We've had 2 head of households, both women. It's great. This is going to be a more interesting season if there are equitable competitions and it's not just jocks winning everything. So that's the thing I am most excited about. The girl that won the veto. There's the 50-year-old woman, super crazy lady that won the head of household, and then a woman won the veto. That's the first time since like 7 years ago that a woman won the first veto, and the first time since BB-8. So 18 years ago was the last time women won the first 2 comps. That's how bad it's been. So I'm excited. It changes the game. So, and I like most of the people. It's still the early stages, and they're trying to figure out who they're working with. But I bet my playing in the stock watch thing again, and the person I picked this week to bet my money on won head household. So right the next day. So that's good. That's it. That's all I have to say about it. It started, and it's a little different, and that's in a good way. So that's all. Good way. That's good news.
Yeah, you got to change those shows up after all those seasons. There, I mean, you can't just keep doing the same thing.
They really like everything else. You have your things that people recognize. They're like, oh, remember this comp? So they like to do things over and over and over and over and over. And even maybe they're listening to the fans saying, stop it.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to.
You guys went places.
Yeah, we went places. I'm still trying to. It's been a week almost. since I've been back.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse. This is where the early planning is taking place for our so-called Disney World project.
Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way.
As you can see on this map, we have a perfect location in Florida. Hello, I'm Michael Eisner. We call it Epcot.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all!
Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind.
We know what we hope to accomplish. And believe me, it's the most exciting and challenging assignment we've ever tackled at Walt Disney Production.
Fun imagination, huh?
I got some caramel corn here. A Marvel hat. You got your hat?
That hat has the longest tag I've ever seen in my life.
I cut it off. I was like, what is this tag?
It was 6 inches long.
Joke. Is this a joke hat? Long tag.
Yeah, straight from Disney World itself. Yeah. Still trying to get back in the swing of things a little bit. I have not sat down. My wife did a really good job of kind of taking some notes throughout the week. So maybe we'll sit down here in the near future and kind of do a trip report. I'd thought about that here in the last couple of days.
Oh, yeah.
Now
what's the name of that? The Mickey ears or the mouse?
Yeah. The old. I was just talking. We'd stopped on our way back in Jacksonville, Florida.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. The old Mickey bars.
Bars.
Yeah, podcast we had going there for a while, very sporadically. But we'd stopped in Jacksonville on our way back to visit some family we hadn't seen for a while in person. And my cousin and I, we were just talking about that, and he was like, "Hey, how come it's not on my feed anymore, your podcast?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, I was like, "Apple Podcasts?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Let me see it," because I thought Ka-Pow wasn't showing up.
Well, not this.
No. And he's like, no.
And he's like, I know why that was not on my feed.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, life got in the way. It got to be, we just kind of gave it up and put it away. And but in correlation with that, a little sidebar, my wife finished up her bachelor's degree the day before we left. Actually, we left at like 4 a.m. She finished her last exam. Already had her capstone done. Finished her last exam that night earlier. And so we were celebrating that a little bit, which was very, very cool. She kind of doesn't know what to do with herself and all this extra time she has now. But she's excited, and I thought, well, maybe we can sit down and do a little trip report. Maybe we'll put it on our Patreon page. That would be pretty cool. So if anybody does want to check that out, that's where perhaps that's where they'll find that. We'll see what happens. But not to do a full trip report, we would be here all night. Few things I just kind of jotted down off the top of my head. First night we get there. In Orlando, we stayed one night at the Dolphin Resort. We were really excited about it. You know, this being an upper echelon resort right next to Epcot, so that we were going to leave early in the morning, drive there, relax for the evening, chill out the Dolphin. Ended up raining that night, so we couldn't go to the pool or the hot tub or anything. My back was still kind of bothering me. I've been having some issues with that. So I was a little bit nervous. I did drive a good portion of the way down, but my back was bothering me. I thought, oh my God, how am I going to get through this week? Like this feels like it's going to go wrong and very quickly. But kind of, you know, it's just pain. It's kind of
pain don't hurt.
No, it's kind of grunted through it. And that evening we went down to Disney Springs because I was like, you know what? I've never been to the Indiana Jones bar and I want to go. So we went down to Springs, walked over to Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar. That is the Indiana Jones themed bar down there. And had some appetizers for dinner, had some drinks. It was pretty cool. It's very themed, but it's not over the top. Like, hey, if you didn't know who Jock Lindsay was, he was the pilot at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's the theming. It's his bar. It's all kind of aviation themed. It's kind of rustic and looks very used and worn. But if you didn't know who that guy was, you would not ever know and get the little subtle hints that it's an Indiana Jones themed. But we thought it was pretty cool. The food was pretty good. The menu's a little... It's not a basic menu, so they do have some flatbreads. They do have some wings, but they're kind of, some different flavors. We enjoyed it, had some good drinks, and it was raining, so we went back to the hotel that first night. And then the next day we checked in, moved over to Pop Century Resort for the rest of the week, and still had some rain that day. We'd planned on going to Epcot, so we got up, went to Epcot. Honestly, the rain kept the crowds at bay the entire day, and we just took our umbrellas and didn't get too overly wet. Knocked out a whole bunch of stuff at Epcot that first day, and then Carly was dying to get over to Studios. It's her favorite park, so we went late afternoon, went over to Studios. The reason I'm telling you all of this is because as we get to Studios, it's raining pretty good. People are leaving in droves. It's like 4 or 5 p.m., something like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. Everybody's leaving and going home. We may be, look like drenched rats by the time we get out of here, but maybe we can ride some stuff. So the girls went immediately over to Tower of Terror. They were going to see about doing Rock and Roller Coaster. It had been down that day for a big portion. Myself, I said, no, my back hurts really bad. There's no chance in hell I'm going to ride those 2 rides at this point. So I went straight for Rise, got over to Galaxy's Edge. There was absolutely no line on Rise of the Resistance. Walked on it, no wait, right through the queue, into the pre-show, right onto the ship, and had a great ride. I got to ride with the family in front of us in the actual ride part. They were, I don't know if they were British, possibly Australian. They had accents. They had no idea what they were on. I watched them this entire experience. It was really, really cool because the mom just kept looking at her husband like, I don't know. What is this? What's happening? And as they're getting interrogated and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. Ended up sitting with a really nice family that they were big Star Wars people. And so we were kind of helping the newbies on the ride and telling them where to look and this and that. So we had a nice little ride. Good experience.
Did you smack them away from the pilot seat like you did?
Oh, that if it had been Smuggler's Run and the Falcon, I would have been like, get out of here. No chance you're sitting in this seat. But I got off that. By that time, the rain had kind of subsided a little bit. Girls were still waiting in line doing rides over on the other side of the park. I was like, look back. Rise is still 20-minute wait, which is unheard of. And I'm like, I got to get back in line. And I was like, well, I don't know how late. My back was still hurting. I don't know how late I'm going to be here. So I checked my app to see what Smuggler's Run was. It was like 20 minutes. I was like, okay, single rider, I'll probably walk right on. Sure enough, here's a little pro tip, guys. If you're going to do the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run and you're going to do single rider's line, when you get to the line, there was a part where you would normally go upstairs. It's going to bring you right into the Falcon, like where the chess table is and the bench and everything, right before you get on the ride, you're going to be put into a group. Well, you can normally keep hanging a right and going forward, and you'll go up those stairs and be in the single rider people. Or most people don't realize this. There are 2 single rider lines. It breaks off. If you look backwards, there's another staircase that you can head on up. I do it every time. Nobody ever knows it's there. Nobody ever sees it because they're all walking in unison all together in that line, and nobody breaks off. So I headed up that way, got immediately right on, rode it. I did both rides within a total of 30 minutes, and rides as an experience is normally 20, just to get through the ride part. So freaking awesome. Did a whole bunch of stuff. Ended up riding Slinky Dog at the end of the night. No wait. If we hadn't have been so tired from driving all day, because we got off of it, guy standing at the front of the line going, "Hey, you want to ride again?" Because the park was closing or getting ready to. And I was like, "Do you guys want to ride again?" And both my wife and daughter looked at me like, "No, we are done." So that was our first day. Other highlights, other than riding rides like 3 or 4 times throughout the week, which was awesome. It's my favorite ride. Got to ride Tron Light Cycle Run for the first time ever for us, and got a virtual queue at 7 a.m. Ended up in like group 50, so I think we rode it before noon. It was cool, not great. It was fine. We were a little, because the ride seating, it's like getting on a motorcycle. It's the actual light cycle. So you get in, you kind of have to like crouch down, lean forward. You grab the front handlebars, pull them back, which moves your back brace and your leg braces up to lock you in. Now, there have been issues since this ride opened up about larger people not fitting on this ride, or even tall people, not necessarily like overweight or anything, but just big people with the way your legs fit in there. So we were a little nervous about that. Got up there. Just so happened Carly and I were in the front row. Alicia was right behind us. Got in there, got on the bike, brought it down, locked in, no problem. We're ready to go. My wife, I think she panicked a little bit and could not get her legs to like lock in. And like I said, I think she panicked. It was the first time on. She didn't really know what else to do. So she ended up like riding in the back cart. They have just like a regular seat. So she rode in the very back row. We rode in the very front. It's fast. It's super short. It's cool, but I feel like it could be a little bit more. But it's very fast. It's a pretty wild ride. So I got off of it and was kind of like, because I get motion sickness a lot of times. So I was kind of like, I don't know. The last 20 seconds, I was kind of like, I'm ready. I've had enough of this ride. But that was cool getting to do that. Just rode it once. Bought a whole bunch of merch. I haven't even got through it all yet. All the stuff. We came home. We had our rental car, and it was literally like the trunk was completely full of luggage. We had Carly's in the back seat. We had the back seat loaded down with a cooler and then tons of Disney bags on top. We ended up stopping at the outlet store, bought a bunch of more stuff there, and like to the point where we were getting ready to leave, and I was like, Carly, mash the Disney bags down. I can't see out of the back window. So she had like crap on top of her all the way home, 13 hours. So that was cool, but overall, excellent trip. It felt so good. We had not been in 2 years. It felt so good to be back home, to have gotten rid of the stress for my wife of school, and my daughter's getting ready to start her senior year. And volleyball started this week. She's currently up at Cedar Point, another theme park in Ohio, at a volleyball tournament up there right now as we're recording for a few days. So the timing ended up being really good. We did dining plan. We had got lucky, got free dining, quick service dining plan. So the food was really good. Tried some new places, tried some older places that we love, and I've got a bunch of pictures of a bunch of food that I'm sure we'll get to. So check it out. I'm sure we'll do some sort of trip report later on with more details. But yeah, really good trip. So glad. I can't wait to go back as always, but so happy that we got to do it when we got to do it. It was super, super hot. Thought it was going to melt. I think the third day, my daughter looked at me and she said, "Now I know what it's like to be cremated." And I was like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Put that on my headstone.
Yeah. So pretty
Does
great.
Does Disney offer that service if you want to be cremated at Disney?
Not yet. We're working on it in Florida. I got to do one of the new experience. I'll just mention real quick. The Epcot has the Moana new Journey of Water opened up not too long ago. We had not been on or walked through that yet. A lot of fun. Kind of teaches kids or adults, whoever, about the water cycle, which was kind of cool. Some interactive stuff. You can move your hands and step on things, and water shoots and moves and plays music. It was pretty cool. So got to see Poopin' Walt, took some pictures with Walt, some selfies, and that middle area of Epcot is all now done, reopened recently, very recently, and I really dug it. I like it. It's got a lot of just chill out areas where there's some new shows happening throughout the day, kind of adjacent to it, but a bunch of seating where you can just kind of relax, different types of seatings, tables, much needed things. I at one point, I did partake myself. I got myself some snacks, chilled out for a little while, just kind of people watched, really enjoyed it. And I think a nice addition in the long run. I'll always miss the old Club Cool, the Fountain of Nations. I hated to see that go, but I'm never gonna miss that pin trading area or any of that crap that was just a big nothing to me. Just a walk through on a way to another ride. So pretty cool. The new garden area, I enjoyed that. Yeah, that's all I got.
I took a day trip up to Columbus, or Animate Columbus. This was the show put on by GalaxyCon, which we've gone to the last couple years. Big comic convention in December at the Columbus Convention Center. Well, this is kind of a spin-off of that show, focusing on animation, voice actors, video games, anime, that sort of thing. So I was offered free tickets. As a retailer, I help advertise. They sent me some stuff for Free Comic Day, like some bags to give out, some flyers. So for helping advertise them, as a thank you, they sent me some free tickets. I didn't go last year. I think last year was the first year they'd had it in Columbus. I didn't end up going, but this year
I was actually there.
Oh yeah,
I was there for PowerCon. That was happening
that other con,
in the same convention center right next door. And I didn't realize it was happening till about halfway through the day. So yeah, this was a pretty big show last year.
So I wasn't sure it was my crowd, and it ended up not really being my crowd. But I thought, okay, I got free tickets. It's just Columbus is a quick trip. Let's go check it out. There was a couple people there I wouldn't mind meeting, so I was like, let's just do it. Nobody else. I have no friends to go with me. Nobody else could make the schedule work. So I just went solo, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. So I got there. It started at 10, so I wasn't in any big hurry. I had no schedule to stick to except a couple panels I wanted to see. So I pull in a little after 10 into that parking garage there at the center, and I'm like, what's going on? It was like almost empty. I parked right in the front row, right by the elevators. I could pull through, so I could, I didn't have to back in or whatever. So like, wow, there's no one here. This is very different from when we come up here for GalaxyCon. So I went in, and it was definitely a smaller setup, basically the same room, the same panel rooms type stuff, but it wasn't, again, it was a Sunday, so I'm sure Saturdays are more crowded, but I didn't feel like some of these shows you can't walk down the aisles, you have to kind of turn sideways to get around people and stuff, but there was a crowd, but it wasn't bad. It was very easy to navigate around, so it was definitely I don't know, maybe half the size of GalaxyCon as far as I saw. So I get there about 10:15 or so. None of the Ninja Turtles were there. The reason I went, all 4 voice actors from the original 80s Ninja Turtles and April O'Neil were all there at the con, which, a very formative cartoon in my life. And most of them do a bunch of other voices too, so they're famous for other things. But it's like, when will I get the chance to meet 5 voice actors from this show? So that was my main goal. But I also had several people from X-Men 97 there, which I thought, there's a couple people. And the show coming up in Cincinnati in the fall has a whole bunch of other ones. So I thought, well, if I get a couple of them now, I can basically meet everyone from X-Men 97 by the time the year is out. So that was my plan. But if I didn't meet them, no big deal. So yeah, I get there a little after 10. No turtles in sight. Their booths are covered up with tablecloth. Like, okay, they're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're not early risers. What are you gonna do? So I just picked the longest line from the X-Men guy, Ray Chase, who played Cyclops. He had a line of 20-25 people, so I thought, that's first thing in the morning. I'll just go get in the longest line. And he had done video games and anime, so everyone in line had something different to get signed. Like he was a very prolific actor. A ton of anime fans for sure. So the panel I wanted to see started at 11:15, and it was like getting close. I kept checking my watch, like I might not get through this line by the time this panel starts. So I was getting up to the front, finally got through the line, and I had decided this year, like, I want to at least have a conversation with everybody, because I kick myself after I go to these things, because I never know what to say to these people. I just say thank you and get a signature and leave. And it's like, I'm paying for this moment. I want to. So I was like, I decide I'm going to have a human conversation with all these people. I'm going to remember it. So I got up to Mr. Ray Chase's Cyclops, and I said, again, he had a long line, so I didn't want to monopolize this time. But I was like, this show was great. And I said, you really portrayed Cyclops as the badass he always should have been. And he was like, "Oh, thank you." So he thanked me for it, and he gave me the line, "To me, my X-Men." So he did the Cyclops voice just for me. I shook his hand and said thank you. So the panel, it was about 10 after 11 by this point, and the panel was of course, on the second floor, clear across the building. You have to traverse the whole convention center to get to the panel. But the other 2 X-Men were right there, and they only had like 2 people in line. So I'm like, I might as well just get them now and just hoof it upstairs. So then I met AJ Locascio, who is Gambit. So he was one of the few who is not the original voice of Gambit from the 90s. He's the newer one. And I asked him, I said, did you have any idea of the kind of outpouring of love Gambit was going to get this season? Because people were in love with Gambit again during this show. And he was like, no, I thought they'd hate me. Like, he was worried because he's the new guy. He's like, he thought the fans were not going to go for him. But he's like, he was so happy that everybody loved Gambit so much. And then right next to him was Matthew Watterson, who played Magneto. And the kid in front of me, I basically followed him to all 3 X-Men. He also had a comic book of X-Men 97. He was getting signed. And Magneto wasn't on the cover. And Matthew was like, yeah, I'm never in any of these group shots. He was like complaining that Magneto's never on the covers of these books. So I laid mine down. I was like, oh, you're not in this one either. Sorry. So I had gotten a reprint of issue 1. It looks like a photograph. There's like a frame around it, and it's like a framed photo of the X-Men. It's got the whole cast except Magneto. And so he was talking about the show, and I get with the kid in front of me, and They were saying he's got all his lines done for season 2 already. They got to go back and do some pickups and some ADR and stuff, but the main recording is all done for season 2. And then the woman, his handler, was like, "So I could have been asking you spoilers all day?" And he's like, "I don't remember anything." He's like, "I just read the lines." So yeah, I was late getting upstairs for the panel. I was just a few minutes late, but the guy was way later. He didn't show up for like 20 more minutes. So that was Rob Paulson, who was Raphael in the Turtles, Yakko from Animaniacs, Pinky from Pinky and the Brain, and a million other things. So he came in late and just apologized profusely to everybody. It was like, "I'm sorry," like his schedule, he didn't have it written down or whatever. And then he spent 5 minutes talking about like how grateful he is and how amazing it is going to these shows, and that like he understood the impact that his career has on people. And like, you know, every time I go to one of these shows, a mom comes up to me and says, "You know, my kid was in the hospital for so many months, and we watched Pinky and the Brain every day, and that helped us laugh through it." Like, he's like, "I get those stories constantly." He's like, "There's no other job on earth." So he just went on and on about how grateful he is for, you know, he knows how his life has been blessed, and going to shows like this, it doesn't feel like a chore, that he really enjoys it and connecting with people in that way. So I'm like, this guy's awesome. And then he talked during the panel about voice actors and what a close-knit group they are, because you think Hollywood, everyone's jockeying for jobs, and you know, you go into auditions and stuff, but he's like, the voice actors is such a small community, and they all know each other. They've all worked together on different stuff. And he said, "We'll say, I'm not right for this part. You should talk to X, Y, and Z." Like, they'll recommend each other for jobs. And, you know, they talk about, you know, he was, just talk about how different it is than a lot of other jobs, especially in Hollywood. So that was a neat panel. So then the Saturday panels is when they did the group panels. There was an X-Men panel with all of them there. There's a Turtles panel with all of them there. So Sunday just had a couple individual panels. So that's what I was able to go to. So yeah, 11 o'clock was Rob Paulson. And then 12:15, I saw Townsend Coleman, who played Michelangelo and the Tick, which I loved. And so I was curious to see his panel. And that one started off, the moderator said, "Okay, folks," you know, he talked to him for a little bit. It's like, "Okay, now we're going to do a Q&A. I just have one rule. Please don't ask him to do a voice or say a line. You know, he'll provide that if he wants to, but he's not your dancing monkey, okay? Just let's be respectful to him." And there's a pause, and the guy goes, "Nah, I don't mind. I'll do it." So he was basically like, I'll do lines. That's what I'm here for. Like, I'm a voice guy. I'll do voices. He's like, "Oh, okay, then fire away. Let us have it." So again, it was a good panel. So 1 o'clock, that panel ends, and I go back to the floor, and the Turtles are mostly all back at their tables by that point, finally. So first one went to Barry Gordon, who's Donatello. He didn't really have much of a line. He doesn't have as many credits as a lot of the other people. So as I said, everybody in line had something different, a poster or a toy, action figure, something, but from something, you know, a Disney cartoon or a movie that they love, or a Ninja Turtle thing. So poor Donatello didn't have quite as many credits, so I got through his line pretty fast. Then went through Rob Paulson's line. He was super personable and was talking to everybody and taking pictures. And his line took quite a while because he was having a moment with everybody. And like, as I'm standing there, to the left of me, they start ripping up the tape from the floor where you know, they form the lines. I'm like, so it's getting close to 2 o'clock on a Sunday. I was like, people probably got flights to catch. I'm like, I might not meet all these people if I don't get through this line. So I was getting a little nervous, but nobody was in any hurry, so I got through it all. But so I got to the front of his line, and I said, "I enjoyed your panel." I said, and it makes me happy that you have that awareness or that perspective of what this stuff means to fans. Because I said, I'm sure it's easy to be cynical in Hollywood, and that what you're doing means something to people. And he was like, he patted me on the shoulder. He basically gave me the same speech again about how this is so great and I love coming to these things. And he said, "If you've lived the life I've had and you're still cynical, there's something wrong with you." So he tried to impart some wisdom to me about, you know, being happy in your work and all that stuff. So he was just a wonderful, wonderful human being. Then I met Cam Clark, Leonardo. When I got up to him, I said I thanked him for coming as a group. I was like, that's so cool. We get to, that you guys do this all together so the fans can meet all of you at one time. That's a really cool thing for the fans. And he said, well, to be truthful, a lot of bookers want all of us or none of us. It's like they want to book. It's like one Ninja Turtle. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's like, if we have, now we got some, if we got all of them together. So I'm like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. And he said, he's like, honestly, when I saw the guest list, I didn't know why I was invited. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, and I said, I don't really get a lot of this anime stuff either. But it's like, it's good to have, multi-generational stuff. And he said, he's like, yeah, I guess we got to attract old dudes like you. I was like, hey, Ninja Turtle called me old. That's not cool. But, so yeah, I said
he's just a teenager. He can call you that.
Right. Yeah. I'm some old fart. But, so yeah, I said, like, yeah, it's a good, dads bringing the kids who are into the video games and the anime. It's good to have something from the dad's era as well. Then got in line for Townsend Coleman, Michelangelo. I got up to the front of his line, and he was like out front. He wasn't even sitting down. He was out in front of his table, just moving around. He was talking to everybody. He was so animated. And I handed him my comic to get signed. I said, I love the Ninja Turtles. I said, but the Tick is just about my favorite thing of all time. And he started like doing a fist pump, like, yeah. So I think he's partial to the Tick as well. I said it came out in the early 90s. I love
Alex Ross's pictures of Captain America though.
With the big chin. So I said, the 90s when this show came out, I was like, I've read comics my whole life, but the 90s comics were getting really gritty and dark and everything was super serious. And I said the Tick was such a 180 from that, of just something fun. I was like, somebody gets it that superheroes are supposed to be fun. And he was like he was like, yeah, you're right. And he was like getting pumped too. And I said, and I've still got lines from that show that pop into my head 30 years later. I was like, that is so ingrained in my head. He goes, like what? It's like, oh no, he's put me on the spot. So at his panel, somebody asked him like who people he has enjoyed working with or whatever, and he mentioned Jim Cummings, the guy who does Winnie the Pooh and a bazillion other voices. He said, "Oh, Jim Cummings did an episode of The Tick, playing Barry, and another character also named The Tick, and he was joking about running lines with him." And I said, "Well, as one of the lines I always remember from that episode was, Barry, you're gonna have to start making some sense." And he started laughing and like doubled over, and he fed the line back to me. He goes, Barry, like, so the Tick said my favorite line back to me in line. It was amazing. And then he said that he never used to read the final monologues because most episodes ended with like I learned something today, and the Tick would just go off on this, evil is like a river rushing toward us, chum, and we've got to put on our water wings. Like every episode ended with this long-winded, bizarre rant. And he said he would never read those. The rest of the script, he would go over and double check everything. Because like that one, he just wanted to read off the cuff and just sound like he was making it up as it went along. I was like, well, it definitely worked. Those are amazing. So I got a little behind the scenes tidbit, and I got a line read from the Tick. What more could you want? So then last person through the line, Renee Jacobs, who played April O'Neil. So I had gotten everybody to sign with their respective colors. Orange for Mikey, blue for Leo, that kind of thing. I was like, I wonder if this lady's got a yellow pen. I was like, I hope she does. I'm sure they're professionals. They're gonna be prepared. Well, she had this yellow pen. It's like, I don't know, it hasn't been working real well today. She was nervous to sign with this yellow pen. I was like, let's take a chance. Let's do it. So she there was like a cityscape behind her. She's like, I'm gonna draw a little window first. So she drew a little yellow window on the building to make sure the pen was working. She's like, I think it is. So it took her 5 minutes to get this pin to where she wanted it to be, but she did. But she complimented me. She was like, "Oh, I haven't seen this issue before." So it's just there's a current series coming out called Saturday Morning Adventure. So it's the Turtles, but they're drawn in that animated style from the 80s. So I found a cover that had all 5 of them in a nice prominent pose that I really liked. So she complimented me and thought that was a good choice. So I was happy. Everyone was awesome. Said I didn't know 90% of the people there, but the people I did were super cool. So after I got all the autographs, I went shopping. I went to look around. There's not a single person there selling comic books, if you can believe it. There wasn't a comic vendor in the whole building. It was all statues and Funko Pops and plushes and stuff for cosplay, and a long artist alley. I mean, there were some artists there selling their own stuff, but as far as just like vendors, no comic books. So I didn't spend any money. There was one booth there that had a ton of posters on like the cardboard backers, and some of them were vintage stuff. They had like, the Japanese Star Wars posters and the Godzilla posters and stuff. And there was a vintage 1989 Ninja Turtles poster, like from the Mirage comics, where they're all in the red bandanas fighting this big robot, that had $50 on it. And I walked past like 3 times, like, do I want that? Like, I think I do. I was like, I couldn't spend $50. So I got out of there, not spending any money except for the autographs. Headed down to Mikey's Late Night Slice because I had to get some pizza.
That was going to be I was going to ask you today earlier, and I was like, no, I'm going to save it and I'm going to find out.
Again, I skipped lunch again. I waited, saved it all up for the pizza parlor. Went down there and got a slice, and then headed home, and that was my day. So again, it's a good show. It's a fun show, especially if you're a cosplayer or a anime fan, for sure. So it would have to be some good guests again to attract me. But yeah, the 5 people from one of the best cartoons ever was quite enough to get me to go up.
Yeah, I think you chose the perfect thing to have signed. Super cool how it looks amazing. I've seen it twice, but how how it's laid out and each individual person signed in a separate color matching to the character, it's pretty neat. So where else? I would have went to this had I not been on my way back from Florida, because I would have been the same way. I would have been like, yeah, I'll Ninja Turtles, cool. Like, when else am I going to see these guys? So.
Yeah. There's I took a picture of the issue. It's on our Ka-Pow Facebook page if you want to see visual of the comic.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to GalaxyCon.
So yeah, now I've got to go. I've got to go to Cincinnati to meet all the rest of the X-Men folks. And then we got GalaxyCon. So I got at least 2 more shows in me this year.
Oh, when's Cincinnati Con?
October or something.
Oh, I haven't even looked to see who's going to be there.
I know it's in Sharonville this time. It's not at the convention center downtown.
Oh, it's not. It's not where we went last.
They're renovating. They're renovating the big convention center, so it's going to be moved for the next couple of years.
Sharonville's nice though. Yeah, it's a good place. You can go to. We could always stop by Jungle Gyms in Sharonville also. That's a pretty cool little stop. So.
Yeah, Cincinnati's got some celebrities, of course, with comic people like Kevin Eastman, Alan Davis, Simon Bisley, Matt Wagner. I'm sure some more to come in the next couple months.
Yeah, I met Alan Davis this year. But yeah, Eastman be cool. But Wagner, that's the guy. He did some Batman, that old Batman stuff, right?
Yeah, like
I have some.
He did all the covers for like that Monster Man, and when Jason Todd came back, he did all those covers for Red Hood stories.
Yeah.
And all the covers, Kevin Smith's Green Arrow, he did all those covers.
Oh yeah, I have that. Gosh, what do they call the DC version of an Omnia? Absolute. I have the absolute of that Green Arrow. I haven't cracked it yet. I mean, I read this back in the day, but I remember liking it. Read it again. Yeah, good stuff. That's what. Yeah, I'm just like, I'm sitting here looking for Guardians tickets, and I'm like, I just want to enjoy myself. They're doing that kind of stuff, going to these cons, meeting these people, getting some stuff signed, and just being in your environment, that's where it's at.
It really is. I had that thought also just the other day. We'd gotten back from vacation. And I was like, "What? Okay, it's a big part of our year. That 1 week, we spend a lot of money and a lot of time planning for a Disney vacation, and especially when you haven't been there for a long time. And I was just like, man, like, what am I going to do the rest of the summer, the rest of the year? And I was like, and I started thinking about stuff, and I was like, well, I can go do this. There's some toy shows, and October will be the Great Ohio Toy Show again. I was like, I can't wait to do that stuff again. So,
I got Gen Con and Baltimore Con, Galaxy Con are the only ones left for sure I'm going to. But we'll see. I'll have to look at Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. John Rhys Davies is going to be in Cincinnati too, which is pretty cool. I was like, oh, Lord of the Rings, Indiana Jones, this guy.
Oh yeah.
He has been in one. He was in one episode of Batman the Animated Series. I'm like, that poster. But then I thought, how can I pass up getting something Sliders signed?
Yeah.
If I ever met Jerry O'Connell, I would regret it not having something already signed by John Rhys Davies.
Right.
Yes, Sliders fan that I am.
You totally would. You totally would.
Yeah.
You need to get the biggest Sliders poster that you could never possibly find a place.
Like the size of a bus. Giant.
Yeah.
I was super excited to walk in Asylum the other day and see 2 posters up on the wall with a bunch of signatures on it. And I was like, I recognize those. So they look really good. Proper place to put them.
They've been conversation starters already.
I was thinking, I might, after I do Baltimore and I have a bunch more signatures, I might let you hang my shield in there for a week or so and see if anybody tries to rob you.
Yeah, we'll sneak out with another shirt.
Yeah. Oh, good luck. That's a under their shirt. That's a topic of contention with Cat fans. How's he walk around in his street clothes with that shield under his shirt? He's broad-shouldered, people. Leave him alone. All right.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Woohoo. So there we have it. Where have you been lately? Let us know. Have you been anywhere cool that we don't know about?
How have you been?
How have you been? What are you into? What are you watching? We're not been watching as much TV lately, so we need some suggestions. What's your favorite show at the moment? Hit us up on the socials. Until next time, my name is Jordan Lowe.
Thanks for listening to our show. Cliff Barnes.
I'll be there. The day is through. Bye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast @gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/udownwithkpp for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share.